Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the homestead and Happy New Year. It's January the 1st, 2021, and I'm outside. It's about +3, +2, something like that at the moment, centigrade. And I thought I would do something a little crazy. Well, it's kind of crazy for here. It's crazy for our climate, crazy maybe for the current timing we're in. We're currently under a curfew, actually, here in Latvia. Not in the daytime, obviously, but I'm outside. And I thought what I'd do, having seen a few videos on YouTube, but there's a tradition back in the UK of planting onions on Boxing Day. Well, I wasn't quite that organised, and our climate here doesn't really suit that. We're 58 degrees north, about zone 5-6. Wouldn't normally be planting any sort of alliums until maybe March. But people do it, and I thought I'd give it a go. And if you're watching this video, then it's been a success. If you're not, well, then you're not. I will track the progress as I go through the year, and we'll see how the seeds that I plant today will compare to ones that we just plant regularly. But first, I need to dig up some compost and make some potting mix. Because of the state of emergency we're under, we can't go to DIY stores and buy any, but I've got plenty here, so I'll just find a smaller filter size, filter it down to a potting mix, and maybe add a bit of native soil, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll plant the seeds. I think I'm going to plant some shallots, some onions, and some leeks, and then we'll go from there. So let's go and sort that compost out, and then we'll plant those seeds. I thought what I'd do is mix some of my normal compost up with some pig manure that we've got from the pigs we had the year before last, to give it some general compost and a bit of more sort of high fertility. But this is the standard compost to start with. Just run this through this filter, grader, to get a fine mix. Obviously it's seen better days. I'll throw this onto the bigger filter grader, just to be used in regular compost. Let's go and get some pig manure. I think because it's so fine, I'm just going to put it in as it is. And then any bigger bits I can just pull out of the final mix. And then finally, I've just got a shovel full of the native soil here, which is quite sandy, and this is quite dry. It's from on the side of the greenhouse. It's under shelter, and then we'll just mix that in. Take that big stone out. Should give some slightly better drainage. There. So there's our mix complete, and now we can put it into a tray that I've got ready and plant some seeds. So let's do that. Feels good bringing the seed box out, although I know it's somewhat premature. But anyway, it's an experiment, so it doesn't matter. So here's the seed tray, half in alphabetical order, half in mother-in-law order, which we don't talk about. The interesting thing is it's in alphabetical order, which is my system, but it's in alphabetical Latvian order. So I need to remember the names of the seeds in Latvian to be able to find them, which is helpful and not helpful, but it's good for me for learning Latvian. Now, onions are sīpoli, S for sīpoli, and shallots are S as well. They're the same in English as in Latvian. And leeks are purvi, so that's a P. But so let's find S and see sīpoli there. There's some pink shallots. I think I've got some other shallots. Yeah, zebruna. Some onions, white seed Spanish, we'll try those. And leeks, we'll try here. Bulgarian giant. Let's give those a go, shall we? These rose shallots are native. Sorry, not native. I can buy the seeds here in Latvia, so I'm not too bothered about using more of these. You can normally free them. The roots tend to pull apart quite easy anyway. That's rose shallots. Let's do the... We've got lots of different places we can plant these, even if not planned for the main garden. We will have no problem finding space. And even if they get interplanted in the greenhouse or something. And then we'll take those indoors and put them in a warm place, or give them a sprinkling of water, put them in a warm place and see what happens, see if we get some germination. Well, it's now the middle of April, and as you can see our onions have grown really nicely actually, and the only problem I had is the rose shallot seeds that I had didn't germinate, so I just swapped them out for some spring onions, scallions, and I've got some other shallots, if you remember from the 3 lines that we planted. So from memory, white Spanish onions are zebruna shallots and Bulgarian giant leeks, and they're looking great. And what we're going to do is take these out, pull them apart and soak them in some water, and then we'll go and plant them in the field and see how they grow. So let's go and do that. It's now the last week of June and we've passed the solstice, the longest day, and that will trigger the onions to start bulbing, or those of the alliums that we've sown from the New Year's Day onions. Obviously the leeks down the front there, they won't bulb. They're looking nice and green, they're looking relatively healthy, I think. But, you know, not as big as the sets that we planted, but that's to be expected really. They are showing some signs of starting to bulb, but that's the core trigger for the onions, is the fact that the days start getting shorter. So in about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, we'll be hoping to harvest these, and now we just wait till then. Well, we're back down at the bed where we planted our New Year's Day onions, as I called it. And as you can see, we're kind of ready to harvest now. It's the middle of August. The first half of August has been pretty wet. In fact, the sun is shining now and it's raining as well a little bit, but I shall push on. Behind me are the leeks, which we won't be harvesting today, obviously. They'll carry on into winter, but they're doing well. I've got some conclusions, which I'll just take you through. Firstly, I did plant the same onions and shallots in the bed just behind where the camera is, to make a comparison, and they were sown, I think, back in April. On the whole, planting earlier has benefited everything, but some things more than others. The white Spanish onions have seen a small, these ones are a little bit bigger, but as you'll see, not that much bigger. So no real gain by planting earlier. The shallots, on the other hand, really have benefited from being planted early. They're much bigger than the ones that are planted in spring. So I'm going to pull these up now, and then we'll have a look at the ones that I planted in spring as well. As you can see, one observation is that there's a bit of a mix of things going on. So it looks like in the seed tray, some of the seeds spilled over and got mixed up with each other. It's very difficult to tell when they're very little seedlings. But nevertheless, it's all edible. So let's harvest this and have a look at the other bed. Okay, so here's our harvest. You can see we've got some really nice sized shallots. Got some small ones as well, but that's fine. But on average, very nice size. And again, for the white Spanish onions, some really nice size. Some smaller ones as well, but some nice sized sweet Spanish onions. I also observed that I was cautious in the planting spacings and giving four aside on the rows, and I could have easily planted 5, which is what I normally do with the onion sets. 5 would have worked fine. So better efficiency next year. Let's just have a quick look at the other onions that I planted mid-spring. So here's our shallots planted mid-spring. I can't remember the exact date, but you can see much smaller, average size. I mean, they're still okay. Well, some of them are, but a lot of them really haven't come to full fruition. The beds were treated exactly the same, they were watered the same, and they were fertilised the same. But clearly shallots love a longer growing season. So here's a side-by-side comparison, which I think makes it a lot easier to see. These shallots are our New Year's Day shallots. And here's our spring sown Spanish white onions. As I said earlier, difficult to make a comparison really, but we'll pull them up and then compare them side by side and see what we've got. Okay, so here's our side-by-side comparison. These are our New Year's Day onions. I think, obviously I planted less of these and as it was an experiment, but you know, the average size possibly is a bit bigger. There are some big ones in both piles, but yeah, it's not something that, unless I was a real competitive onion grower, I would make a lot of effort to do, I think, to grow from so early on. Well, here's our harvest in its entirety in a wheelbarrow, ready to go onto the curing table. I even found this shallot in a different bed, which I'd left from the year before to go to seed, and it stubbornly refused to go to seed and just kept on growing. So evidence, if you ever needed it, that shallots do enjoy a very long growing period. What a whopper. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Obviously I've filmed it over this year. It's taken quite a while. I hope you found it helpful. Certainly I have found the experiment helpful, and will change the way I grow things next year. And thanks for watching. If you found it interesting, please share it with other people. Share it in the social media groups that you're in. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.